a bit of a rundown on Chef Collective, cloud kitchens, give you an opportunity to peel back some of the layers on this type of business, how we do things here in Australia, and then obviously give you kind of an open floor to ask any questions towards the end. Just before we kick off, I'd probably ask if everyone isn't already to just pop your Zoom on mute. That way we can kind of get through without any background noises. Also, if you do have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to just drop them in this the chat, and you should be able to see a little button that says chat in the Zoom window. Feel free to throw any questions along the way in there, and we'll try and answer them in real time, but there will be a chance towards the end to open the floor up for questions. So yeah, just a bit of an introduction. Thanks again for everyone for joining. My name's Sam. I'm the country lead of Chef Collective here. Bit of a background on me, a little varied, coming out of engineering originally. I'm based up in Queensland, and through management consulting and a number of different technology businesses. But basically today I work with our whole team here in Australia, but also our various teams overseas to really work out, what is the best model for a cloud kitchen business to operate here in Australia. Understanding what the market needs, what restaurants are looking for in this country, and really helping them succeed in a delivery setting. I've also got Libby Smith here with me, and I'll let her do a bit of an intro on herself.
Hi everyone, as Sam said, I'm Libby. I'm the Customer Success Manager for Australia, and I look after our clients on a day-to-day basis in both our Brisbane and Melbourne facilities. My background's a little bit different from Sam. I worked in hotels for years, and then for a large accommodation website for a few more. And my day-to-day involves onboarding our clients, post them, joining the Chef Collective family, and then looking to assist in growing their business over time.
Thanks, Libby. So just on the right here, a bit of a quick rundown on what we'll be going through today. So I guess starting from a helicopter level view of what is a cloud kitchen, explaining that concept at the top level. Why is it important? Where is the market moving over the last 5 to 10 years, and where do we think it's going to go forward from here? How do we operate here in Australia, and what are some of the things that we're bringing through our operation here in Australia? Libby will then also go through a couple of examples on, how we work with restaurants in our facilities and on an ongoing basis. Some kind of nice case studies and a bit of a look at who we're working with around the world. We'll also go into our current footprint in Australia and some of the upcoming facilities across the country. And then towards the end, we'll open up the floor to everyone for a bit of a Q&A. So as I said before, if you've got any questions while we're digging into something, feel free to drop it in the Zoom chat, and we'll try to answer in real time. But if there's anything else you'd like to wait to the end, that's also a great time to do it. All right, so to kick off, we've got a little bit of a video here that one of our clients in our Brisbane facility produced themselves in preparation for their launch. So I might just give this a play, and it kind of gives you a nice marketing spiel that these guys use to kind of promote their launch into Brisbane through our facility. So let's see if this works.
Let us introduce you to Wing Culture by Soul Bistro.
We've just launched in Coorparoo. This is the first delivery-only kitchen in Australia.
This is about delivery and takeaway, bringing the best fried chicken to more of Brisbane.
Our values will always remain the same: fresh Australian chicken and sauces made from scratch. We've brought our famous wings with 9 flavors to choose, our fried chicken burgers, and your favorite sides.
We're excited to have started our expansion journey. We can't thank you enough for the support.
There we go. Thought that was a fun one to kind of kick things off with. We definitely see things like this pop up a lot of the time with our customers. The traditional type of PR and marketing is something that absolutely, has a lot of power even within a cloud kitchen operation. So this type of thing tends to work really, really well. Whoops, I've seen that. Let's see if I can go next. Okay, kicking us off with what is a cloud kitchen. So at a high level, a cloud kitchen's a highly efficient kitchen without a storefront. And the reason why that happens and is done is to optimize for delivery and pickup. You'll see a little image on the right-hand side. We'll go through some of these photos in a little bit to give you what it looks like inside the facilities. But basically, the way it works is we locate these types of facilities in these kitchens in areas that attract extremely high customer demand. And when we think about customer demand in a delivery context, it's much more important to find, where are people dining at home and who are the people dining at home. So it's a bit of a shift from, the traditional brick and mortar restaurant placement, which has obviously historically been, targeting high levels of areas of high foot traffic. But these days, dine at home, finding the right people is really important. We'll go into a bit of that later as well. Through this model, you're able to run with much fewer staff members than you would in a traditional setting. This really helps drive profitability. And then another really interesting thing is because it's hidden from the typical customer on the street, you are able to run multiple brands and concepts out of the same space. And that's another thing that we'll go through in detail. So why is this an important thing? Hey, it's, I'm sure a lot of you have seen maybe our ads and heard a bit from us in Australia over the last year that we've been reaching out and starting to market in Australia, but it's also something that's really growing rapidly in all areas, in all countries around the world. So I just took a quick look at some stats around the engagement with online delivery food in just Australia. And if we look at on the far left, we've got all Australians over the age of 14. We've gone from 16 to 27% of all population above 14 using delivery food services. But if we go all the way to the right-hand side, we've got millennials and Gen Z all the way up, almost approaching 40% who use these types of services. So, as this age category and as the younger age groups get older and, higher spending, higher income, more, disposable income, we're really going to see these categories of people engage even more with delivery apps. And, I think as we've all witnessed over the last 2 years, COVID and lockdowns, these numbers here only go to 2020. So we can see a rapid increase from 2018 to 20, but it's increasing even into 2021. So we think that this is here to stay. And I guess we're here to explain a little bit about why this is such an important part of running a restaurant today. If we look at a bit more of the detail, if we look at this graph or this table here, we've got a comparison of what it looks like for a traditional restaurant to what it would look like in a cloud kitchen operation with Chef Collective. So, if you were looking to expand from either a network of existing restaurants, multiple stores, or even if you had a single location and you're just looking to get your second or third, typically you can have a huge amount of investment required for a fit out. And, it might not be this much, $1 million, but you'd have a huge range anywhere from, $50,000 all the way up to the $1 million mark if you are doing a premium fit out. Whereas if you look at Chef Collective and a cloud kitchen type of operation, this is massively reduced. And we'll go into some of the reasons why this is possible, but from our end, there's a lot of investment that we put into these facilities and these kitchens that mean that you don't actually need to come and spend that money to launch. Going down the table, we look at the space. Obviously, in a traditional brick and mortar, you've got a very large front of house catering to all of your dine-in customers. 200 square meters, you might have anything ranging from 50 to 200 or sometimes even more. In this kind of context, because there is no front of house, there is no dine-in, you can operate in just what you would need for your actual kitchen, which tends to be about 16 to 25 square meters. And that's exactly what we cater to in our facilities around Australia. Staff, again, another similar kind of story. You might have anywhere between 10 and 30 employees based on the size of your operation. In a delivery-only cloud kitchen environment, you really only need 1 to 3. And what we actually see is during off-peak and maybe Monday to Wednesday, Monday to Thursday, it's typically only 1 to 2 that might be needed. Peak hours, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, you might be bringing in 2 or 3, but we never really see any more needed than that. Time to market's obviously a really interesting one as well. You know, if you are going in and seeking a brick and mortar restaurant, you've got to find a location, you've got to negotiate with real estate agents, you've got to invest in your fit out, you've got to invest in your equipment, and this can take a long time. And so if you're thinking about one location, it might be up to a year. If you're going, you know, big and you want to, you know, go 5, 10 locations, this might take a long time, or a lot of money, or both. Whereas in our environment, you know, we've prefabricated, we've pre-installed a lot of the key equipment and the key fixtures that you'll need to operate a restaurant. And so you can go live in 1 to 3 weeks. So Libby will also go through some of the timelines that are involved with launching in this type of delivery only kitchen. But, you know, as you can see here, you know, we don't have right now a huge number of facilities around Australia. That's changing very, very quickly, but we do have a network around the world so that this type of expansion strategy can be really, really fast and cost effective. So when you kind of look at all of the numbers and you add that all up, what it really results in is a break even or, you know, cash flow positivity much faster in a delivery only environment than it would be in a traditional restaurant. A couple of things on this slide I just want to run through quickly. So really the first one on the left, virtual brands, is also what we're looking at on the graph on the right. And I mentioned it before, is the idea of running and operating multiple brands out of the same space. So if you know, think about a brick and mortar restaurant and you're serving Italian, if you were to then design a menu and design a brand in this brick and mortar dine-in location that now also starts doing Thai, it's very conflicting, and it would be an extremely weird experience for all of your customers, you know, to come in and see these two conflicting brands. But in the delivery only setting and in this cloud kitchen environment, there's absolutely nothing stopping you creating multiple brands like this, cooking them out of the same space. And we'll go through a couple of examples, and this graph on the right actually shows what happens each time you launch a new virtual brand out of your kitchen. It's something that we can help set up extremely fast, and it tends to just work. We don't usually recommend people go and do an Italian and then a Thai restaurant, but it's usually something that might be complementary or it might add on to your existing menu, but you know, separated to an entirely different brand in the delivery apps. A couple of other things here, multi-channel, you know, we're fully integrated with all of the delivery apps. We are not affiliated with any delivery platform ourselves. And so I think that's something that really plays to your advantage launching in this type of environment. You know, you basically drive as much revenue as you possibly can through all of these channels, but it's not only delivery, it's also customer picking up and also catering channels, which we work very closely with our restaurants to help establish. And again, down there, you know, fully integrated with all of these platforms. And we'll go into a bit more in terms of, you know, how that integration looks. So that's a little bit about, you know, what the high level concept looks like. Just to touch on, you know, our specific model here in Australia and around the world, because we do have a few differences. Like I'm sure, you know, some of you might be familiar with cloud kitchen operators who are affiliated with delivery platforms. You know, there are some pros and cons with that. But I think, you know, the way that we operate with no affiliation really is a massive benefit. But there are a bunch of other things. So just jumping in here, you know, the 4 things that we really bring to the table with our facilities and our offering is obviously the space. You know, you come in, a kitchen is made available. It's the engine room of your operation. But on top of that, there's a bunch of other things that are available. You know, there's breakout rooms, there's, you know, bathrooms and amenities and washrooms. And as part of that, we're also handling a bunch of the things like cleaning, grease traps, and all of those spaces will sit within our world and our responsibility. And so that's kind of the basic sort of offering with Chef Collective. We follow along the services aspect is probably something that is overlooked or not necessarily known too well. But the way it works when you move into a Chef Collective facility is you only need to work within your kitchen. Any of once the food's been, prepared, it's packaged, we will actually handle the processing of those meals, coming to your actual, your actual window, collecting the food, bringing it to the front of house. We're the ones that'll be engaging with the delivery platforms, with the delivery couriers, and facilitating that handover. So, none of the headaches from your end, which, I know a lot of you will have experienced many times in the past, whether, it's couriers that are taking forever to arrive, or a bunch of different things. So that's something that sits well within our area of expertise, and that's something that we offer all of our customers. A couple of other things here. So, cleaning and maintenance is something that is across the board, whether it's grease traps, filters and exhausts, common areas, all of that sits with us. And so again, that's another thing it's just not a headache really to, something that you would have to handle yourself in a normal brick and mortar environment. A bunch of other things in that services bucket, we're always auditing, safety. Everything is absolutely built to specification and above specification in Australia. I think, we're really proud to say that, I guess in Australia in general, the regulations are quite strict. But at Chef Collective, we've got well over all of the requirements. We've got relationships with all of the health authorities, all of the food authorities in each of the cities that we operate. So when we do launch a new client into our facility, it's a phone call, it's scheduled in, they understand our operation, they understand what we're all about. They know that we've got all of the checks and balances in place, and things are very, very easy from a compliance perspective in this type of environment. We are also staffed in our facilities every day of the week. And so that's, the processing of meals, but also for just any support that's needed. Libby will also go into a bunch of other things on the customer support and account management side. We're always working with you guys, with restaurants, to try and help improve performance, or look at new brand opportunities, or get better photos, or profitability of a menu. There's a bunch of different things, but Libby will go into that in a bit more detail. Same again on the infrastructure side. We'll dig into a few photos, but in a nutshell, everything that you critically need, any fixed infrastructure associated with a kitchen, comes pre-installed. And so by that I mean the top of the line exhausts and exhaust towards extraction services are all pre-installed. Sink stainless steel benches, all as per standard health requirements. That is totally customizable as well. So, when we do work with a new customer or a new restaurant operator, particularly if we're in construction stage, but it doesn't matter, it can be, the facility can be complete and operational. We'll always work with that restaurant operator to understand, what's the cuisine type, what kind of volume are you expecting, what kind of layout would you like for the facility? And then we can also help introduce and negotiate equipment suppliers to come to the table and fit out your equipment as you need. A few other things there, air conditioning, obviously all utilities are all installed, ready to rock and roll. So 3-phase power, gas, hot water, everything that you'd expect comes out of the box with all of our kitchens. Obviously there's utilities, so everything I said there is as it says. I think the one thing at the end there that I'll just touch on is we do have fairly high tech facilities. So if you ever do come through for a physical inspection at some stage, you'll see we've got cameras everywhere. We've got 24/7 security. All of the alarms and things are all connected through to our phones. So if anything does happen, we're always getting notified, and we're always we are also always there on site. So, okay. Just to dive into a couple of other things here in terms of where this makes sense. You operate a restaurant, you work in a kitchen, most people who are in that environment love cooking food, creating an amazing dishes for their customers. And so in this cloud kitchen environment, that's exactly what you can focus on. All of the annoying things that surround, this fundamental idea of creating amazing food, we manage that stuff. And so I guess the 6 things that we've got here are really the key things, and we'll go through them in a little bit more detail as we go. But technology is a big one. You know, if you're already doing delivery food and you're on multiple platforms, you've already got 2, 3, 4, 5 tablets, 2, 3, 4, 5 printers all inside your kitchen. That's completely streamlined with Chef Collective. 1 tablet, 1 printer. So from an operations perspective, it's just seamless. From a data perspective, all of that's available. I touched on facility management and equipment. That's something that always, you know, comes throughout the journey in one of our facilities. Utilities and insurance is another thing that's just managed by us. You know, you move into our Melbourne facility, we've negotiated great rates for insurance across the board. We just turn it on and off you go. And then the real estate and logistics side is obviously 2 really important things that are managed by us that you just don't need to worry about. Just in terms of the tech that's involved here, you know, we've got basically a product that aggregates all of the delivery platforms into one. So, you know, no tablets, printers flying all over the place. This is fully integrated with our facility as well. So every time an order comes through, you know, we're able to see that the order's there. Every time you complete the order, we're notified. We'll come and collect it from your kitchen. You know, you can 86 items. You can see all of your data in far more granular detail than what you would with traditional delivery platforms directly. So this is a really great kind of in-the-box inclusion. Now, I'll just kind of touch on this one really, really quick, but as a, you know, I guess an authority and as a business that works with a lot of data in the food and beverage space, we've now developed a product that we call Boost. And basically what it does is it automates the promotions that you run on delivery platforms. And by that, I mean 2 for 1 or 20% off or buy one, get one free, all of these, or free delivery, you know, these types of promotions. And so in a nutshell, and this is way too technical, way above my head, to be honest, but it's a machine learning algorithm that has actually worked out how to optimize for profit or increase revenue by running the most optimal promotions. And these are some of the results that we're currently getting, but I'll let Libby speak to this in a little bit more detail. So, you know, we're seeing 53% increase in sales after only 8 weeks. So it's pretty cool. In terms of, I said at the start, you know, what's really important in a delivery setting is how close you can get to the people who actually want that product. And so on the left here is just an example of some of the output that we look at when we're trying to enter a new market, and it's all about the data. So we always running, you know, data science, machine learning algorithms to find where are the optimal locations in a city to run this type of operation. And that's basically to be able to come to, you know, restaurants in that city and say, look, this is objectively the best location for you to run a delivery restaurant. And then on the right here is a little look inside kind of the machine at our end. We're looking at hundreds of real estate deals every week. So we find the best locations, we run it to the ground. We're looking for the cheapest, the best buildings that will make us be able to charge the least rent, but also be in the best location. And that's obviously a bit of a needle in the haystack. I think this one's quite interesting. You know, we do, as I said, work with a lot of data. This type of thing becomes available to our clients when they work with us. So what we're looking on the left is, you know, the restaurants within the vicinity of our facility in Brisbane. We can see kind of the red and the green shows the placement and kind of the density of where those restaurants are. And then on the right, we can start to see things like what are the most popular cuisine types? How roughly do each of those cuisine types perform with respect to each other? And so this type of thing is extremely powerful. You know, whether you're looking to launch a new type of restaurant or whether you're an existing brand and you want to launch a complementary virtual brand, this is really, really powerful. And then finally, from my end, just a little touch on, you know, with that data angle, what we're looking at here is on the left, this is the starting position in the delivery platform app that a restaurant that's working with us is showing. So if we look at the restaurant location around the facility, they were showing in 85th place. You could see, you know, they're a little bit better than that, but a little further away, they're at 41, 42. But we can track this type of thing over time. And so we can look at, what are the things that we can do to help improve your rating and improve your list position? Because to be honest, in the delivery in this digital world, it's like being on Google. You want to be as close to the front page of Google as possible if you're running a business. It's the same with a delivery app. The closer to the top of the app you can be, the better your restaurant's going to perform. And so what we're looking on the right is that change. It's gone from 85th place to 6th place in the app, and that immediately results in better performance. Cool, that's pause from me. I might just pass over to Libby.
Awesome, thank you, Sam. So let's just carry straight on through. So launching your kitchen. So you've obviously decided to join Chef Collective. I just wanted to walk through the steps of how you get from signing your contract to the kitchen getting live, and how involved or what support we provide during that process. So essentially you'll be working with a dedicated onboarding support person, one from the facility that you're moving into and one specifically for the digital side of your onboarding. Now I will preference we can get kitchens live within this time frame, but there are some things that change from time to time depending upon the city and council restrictions or delays with some platforms. But essentially the first step is deciding, what equipment you're going to be bringing into the facility and how you want your kitchen to be set up. And we'll do CAD drawings for you as well, so we can make sure that your equipment will actually fit and identify any potential changes that need to be made that make your space fit what you do and what you need to produce. Then we need to go through the health permitting process, and that does vary by city. They're relatively similar, but each city council will have its differences. So whilst we do health with the health permitting, generally it'll be the individual business that applies for their health permit. And then pretty quickly after that, that's when we start to sign up your brand onto the delivery platforms like Uber, Deliveroo, etc. We do that nice and early because they can take a few weeks to process and get you live. The next, I guess, the biggest chunk is we obviously know what you're bringing in and we know what your kitchen is going to be set up like. Kitchen improvements. And what we mean by that is you may want to not use gas, you may want to cook with induction. So we need to add more power points into your space, or you may want to put shelving on the wall or something like that to suit your improvements. Sometimes we need to get contractors in to do that work. Sometimes we can do it ourselves, depending upon what it is. If it's just shelves on the wall, our facility team are pretty good, but anything electrical or gas related, we'll need to get third-party contractors in. And then obviously, depending upon where your equipment is coming from, your equipment can be delivered to the space and installed by a professional plumber and gas fitter. We do have contractors that we use at all our facilities, but you are welcome if you do have your own plumber and gas fitter to bring them on yourself, as long as they take liability for the work. And then finally, before you go live, is the physical health inspection. So your equipment's in, and then the local council will come down and do your physical inspection, issue your certification, and then generally we can go live pretty quickly after that. So all going to plan, it's around 4 weeks, and most of our restaurants have been able to stick relatively in that time frame. But each kitchen will always be slightly different, and we'll amend the process accordingly. Thanks, Sam. So beyond, what other support do we supply to our restaurants initially and then ongoing? So generally through onboarding, we break that process into 2 buckets, one being the physical kitchen or the space and digital. So speaking about physical, as I mentioned, we'll do your CAD drawings, work out your equipment layout, etc., and support you or guide you through what you need to do to get your specific health permitting for that particular area. We'll also do things like a physical site induction to show you where the fridges and freezers are and how to access, and with your security fobs and everything like that. And at the same time, we'll also be doing your digital onboarding. And so what I mean by that is making the physical introductions to our different contacts at the delivery partners like Uber, Deliveroo, etc. Now, some of them we do have special agreed upon rates with, and we will continue to try and get better deals. It's never a guarantee, but that's why we make the introduction personally, so they're aware that you're opening with Chef Collective. Some of those are just cheaper commission ongoing. Some of them may be additional support. But because we provide the tablet and the printer, sometimes they don't need to send the technology, and therefore it's cheaper for you to onboard to those particular channels. We will support you through that process as well. Sometimes there are delays and we can help pod and poke along the way. But generally our partners in Australia are pretty responsive. We also do, I guess, before we even set the brand live, we generally sit down and do a consultation. So have a look at your menu. Like, does it really reflect, or is it appropriate for delivery? Like, do your descriptions make sense? Do you need to have photos taken? Can we make an introduction to a local photographer who to come in? In Brisbane and Melbourne, we have, contacts with some amazing photographers that have really made our restaurants shine, and also create brands where brands never existed before by just simple things, by using particular colors in the background of photos to sort of create a cohesive looking page. Generally you don't have a storefront when you're in delivery, and so making your front end pages on those delivery platforms look as slick and professional as possible is only going to entice more customers in. Like, that's where they're coming in, that's where you need to hook them in from. As part of that digital support, we also do your Hubster technology setup. So Hubster is the technology that we use that brings all those platforms together for you. So we set that up, and we also supply a tablet and a printer in your kitchen for your team to be able to view the order when it comes in. We also have resources available. It's called our Ready to Launch Guide that goes through exactly what steps you need to do when you're opening a business, not only with us, but gives you tips and tricks around setting up your own website or maybe your own Google listing, and give you the best possible shot of launching in the way that we've seen our most successful restaurants launch. Beyond your launch, it doesn't really stop there. And we do have ongoing support. So, of course, we have our on-site facility team. So our site leads, our runners, and our facility managers that can help with the day-to-day, things along the way. We also have a full library of content and training around, how to keep you successful in online delivery. So a promotions guide. So understanding like which channels do what promotions, what they're called, how successful they've been in the past, and also physically like how to create a virtual brand. And it goes, it can be very simplistic, but just runs you through the steps of what you need to do. We also give you, I guess, priority access to new facilities, or keep you in the loop when we do purchase new space, or if your plans are to expand, we work with you to find a suitable space. We have Boost, which I will go into more detail, which is a fantastic new tool that has been saving a lot of our clients that are in the facility time and money, but we have seen really good results from it as well. And as Sam already showed you, we have access to all that industry and performance data, which we use to help make informed recommendations to you. And then beyond what our physical team do, we also work with quite a few third parties that also have support functions available to you as well. So Hubster, they are their own business, and they have 24-hour support available. Clients in the kitchen facilities do have the more advanced access to Hubster, so you get a full restaurant business manager login. And essentially what that does is give you access to be able to pull really detailed reports around, which is your best performing channel, right down to, which menu item is the most popular. And when you think about it, if you're selling 80% of one food topic, but you're spending a lot of money on something that's not performing well, it just allows you to streamline and make decisions really fast with data to back it up rather than just a hunch. We also have our own direct websites at both facilities, and we create like a food court website so someone can click in, see every single restaurant that's in the facilities and order through there, because we also support pickup orders as well as delivery. I just noticed a question in the chat there, Sam.
Yeah, I was just about to jump in to grab that one. Thanks for the question about the demand data. So basically, we mostly use publicly available data. We're very lucky that we've got a great team of very technical data scientists internally, where we can analyze and I guess give the best insights that are available to anyone. And so we can analyze that, we can make it available to our customers. We are also lucky that we do work with a lot of restaurants directly, and so through disaggregated and de-identified data, we can see some of the trends that happen across our customer base as well. So it's a bit of a mix, but that's definitely something that we'd be happy to go into in a little bit more detail offline.
Thanks, Sam. I'm ready to go on the next one as well. So Boost, we've spoken a few times about Boost. The reason why is we're really excited about the product. It's fantastic. So as Sam's went into before, Boost uses artificial intelligence to essentially automate your promotions. So what I mean by that is every day it'll scan the system, have a look at your competitors, have a look at what other promotions are in market, and basically automatically load a promotion that it best thinks will be beneficial for your brand. Which is incredible. Like, I don't know of any other software that you can literally just see a list of every single one of your promotions you have across all your channels without physically having to log in. And for some of our clients that have, 2, 3, 5 different brands, sitting there to load your promotions, every day would take hours at a time. And so A, it saves time, but B, it does the, experimentation for you. So there's some screenshots just on the right-hand side here, which is what you as a customer, when you join Boost, can see. So this is all through your Hubster Business Manager account. So you can see the impact of your promotions, how many of your brands are actually running promotions, what channels are they loaded on, like specifically what promotion type it is. Is it a spend and save? Is it a free item? But more importantly, like, how successful has that promotion been? I think in the past, it's a little bit of, about throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks in terms of promotions. And this way it gives you a really good overview around what types of promotion are actually getting the most engagement for your audience. And because it's AI, the longer you're on Boost, the more data it has to use and the more refined it becomes over time. The interesting thing about Boost as well is you can turn it on and off. And people would be like, why do you want to turn it off? And, and a great example of that is, say, for example, if Uber came to you and said, we're running a specific promotion for restaurants who sell pizza and we're going to feature you on the front page. Sign up and you'll be part of this special campaign. You can pause your Boost, participate in that campaign, and then reactivate it post it happening. So you still have the flexibility to have control over your promotions as well, if and when you want to. And you can also switch between different modes. So it has 3 different modes. And what I mean by that is there's a growth mode, profit mode, and balance mode. So growth basically tells the system that you want to be more aggressive with your promotions. Your focus is to grow the amount of orders you have at your site. Whereas profit, it will be a fraction more conservative and focusing on, the return on investment or the profitability of your business. Balanced is just a happy medium between both. At the moment, Boost only auto updates Uber Eats and DoorDash, which for us is about 75% of our total orders anyway. But the fantastic thing about it is you can take the learnings from this information and apply it to the channels that Boost doesn't work with. So maybe that's your own website or channels, or maybe that's Deliveroo or Menulog, etc. And what I really like about it is it's super tangible. You can see the results of the money putting in. So for example, this particular client, new to Boost, but essentially for every $1 of discount they're offering, they're generating nearly like $4.99, so $5 in orders, which is incredible. And if you've ever, used one of the delivery partner apps before, it's all about the visibility. So if I go onto Uber, I'm looking for a particular, I don't particularly know what I want to eat, and I click on a restaurant and say, for example, I don't choose to order from that restaurant, the next time I go in there, it's going to still show on the app. So by loading promotions, you're getting that extra tagging, you're getting that extra visibility, and therefore you're more likely to improve your visibility over time. Thanks, Sam. So I wanted to go through some of the success stories from our customers. But first, I just have a bit of, I guess, a list of some of the major and smaller clients that we work with. And there are some big names on here like Carl's Jr., Burrito Bar, and some of our partners in Asia Pacific and in the US, such as Wingstop, TGI Fridays, etc. I guess what this highlights is that cloud kitchens can be universally adaptable for both small people, entrepreneurs, people that have never owned a restaurant before, all the way through to big enterprise clients. And a lot of these guys have basically been able to scale or move into other markets way quicker than they would have been able to themselves. So I wanted to share, I guess, a perfect launch or an example of a client in our Brisbane facility that came in, listened to the recommendation, and has actually knocked it out of the park. So they were a smaller operator. They had one physical bricks and mortar location, but they had sort of an idea to have 3 different brands, and they didn't know whether they wanted to open, 4 more bricks and mortar stores. And then they decided to open a virtual kitchen to be able to run all brands out of the same location. So they opened in Brisbane. We've been open, just so your question there, for just over 12 months. And these guys were pretty much there from, I think, the fourth week of operation. So they've been with us for one of the longer clients at the moment. So they came in, they launched all 3 brands at the same time. All the brands are unique, but they're complementary in terms of the equipment that is utilized in the kitchen. So they do fish and chips, burgers, and schnitzel. So, all fried, all delicious, but it just meant that they are able to maximize their shelf space. So once again, thinking about a customer, like you go to Uber Eats as an example, people do use other platforms as well. But the first thing that you do, you're presented with so much choice. The first thing you're going to do is filter by what type of cuisine you're wanting to offer. And by having 3 brands, it means that whenever they're filtering, they're maximizing their chance of still being in that customer search as you funnel down to choose the restaurant that you want to be with. As you can see, one of their brands is sort of their, staple brand. It consistently performs really well. But by adding those 2 other, they're just having cream on top. By having one brand, you're still having to have the same amount of staff in the kitchen, stock, etc. But the amount of potato chips these guys go through each week is outrageous. And they're able to cross-pollinate their menus as well. So yes, their fish and chips, brand highlights fish and chips, but they also have their burgers from their burger restaurant on their fish and chips menu, and vice versa. And they've been really smart. The other thing is they've been able to grow their basket size by having multiple different items across multiple menus, but they were able to achieve profitability the fastest out of all of our licensees within 3 months. So if you have a look on the right-hand side of that chart, the first 4 weeks, they were, super aggressive. They loaded lots of promotions to get their name out. Whilst they had a bricks and mortar site, they were on the other side of town. And now they're sort of, on the south side of Brisbane, and had to basically reinvigorate their brand. So they went really aggressive in that first 4 weeks, and then they pulled back to see how well or functionally they could perform without having to, do really aggressive discounting and focus on profitability. And whilst they did initially see a little bit of a drop off in orders that first week, they were able to consistently build back up over time and have consistently been one of our top performers within the Brisbane facility, just running steady promotions and, having a great menu across all brands. Just a couple of questions in the chat. I might have a quick look to see.
Yes.
Okay.
I can see a couple here. So I'll go most recent first. So how are the big brands handling their data? Do they use the Chef Collective platform, or have they opted to keep it separate? So from our perspective, well, across the board, everyone does use our integrated platform. However, with that in mind, ours typically is integrated with lots of third-party platforms. So it's simply a case of having the integration established. Not everything's integrated, but quite a lot of the major products out there are. We do typically require that our solution is used. That is the thing that's integrated with the facility. So as orders come through, we'll need that product to be used so that we know when to go and pick up a meal, or when the meals are being prepared. But yeah, we do find that 100% of our clients therefore do use our solution. And then in terms of expansion and how long we've been in business, so as Libby said, 8 months, not 10 months in Brisbane now, but we are part of a broader network of cloud kitchen operators around the world. So that concept did originate in the US. So we're very lucky that we're able to draw upon those types of learnings from multiple countries around the world, multiple thousands of restaurants that have come through this type of operation. So it gives us a lot of experience under the belt, which is really nice. Thanks, Libby. I might just jump in now, and being conscious of time, I'll just quickly go through some of our existing locations and where we're about to expand into as well. So we'll get a few photos of the facility here as well, but if we just look at our Brisbane facility, it's just about 3 kilometres to the south of the CBD, which is just north of the river here. We can see some of the stats on the left. These are some of the key things that we really target when we decide to open a new facility. It's the residents, but it's also the median age. We know that a lot of the delivery app consumption is from the younger demographics. So we do try to target a really kind of, late 20s, early 30s demographic with a reasonably high income. If we jump across to some photos, you can see it's actually my background, but this is the outside of the building. We were really lucky. We secured a standalone warehouse and did the full conversion. So it's actually a beautiful facility. And this is what a kitchen looks like on the inside. The average size in Brisbane is about 19 or 20 square meters. But as you can see, even in that space, which does kind of sound somewhat small, you can fit plenty of equipment in there. We even find that a lot of operators will bring another stand-up fridge or some extra racks. And I should have mentioned that fridge space, freezer space, and rack space is always freely available. It comes with every kitchen, so you have your own dedicated fridge, freezer, and dry storage space. So you don't need to bring it into the kitchen, but a lot of people actually do because there tends to be enough room. In terms of some of the other amenities, what we're looking at here, if I actually kind of do a run through, so the guy here will have been, finalizing and packaging the meal. He'll staple it, he'll put the receipt on it, he'll swipe meal complete on the Hubster app. That's going to then notify us in this bottom left room, which is our processing center. And so that's where our staff are sitting 7 days a week. We'll get a bell that'll ring. We'll come around to the kitchen, we'll grab the bag, we'll bring it back. You can see the scanners here and the locker system. We'll scan that meal into the locker. If we can tell that the delivery driver is not, he's not there, he's, 15, 20 minutes away, we'll put it under the heat lamps on the right. On the right-hand side in this large photo, that's where the couriers are actually arriving. They're checking in on tablets. They can then see that, okay, I've checked in for this meal. That meal's not quite ready yet. As soon as it's ready, it's going to ping and it'll show on the TV. But if the meal is ready, it's going to tell them immediately that it's in locker A1, etc. You can also see on the top left, we've got a really nice large car park. So, plenty of room for the staff to come and park. And there's also a train station just around the corner. So we're really proud of this facility. It was our first, and yeah, it's going really, really well. Melbourne is one of the newer facilities. It's just to the inner north of Melbourne, kind of right between Kensington and North Melbourne. And again, you can see that we're honing in a really nice demographic of young people, high income, lots of residents, lots of students, as close to the city as possible. This is a great one where we do actually deliver to a lot of the really, really high density areas to the inner suburbs of Melbourne. And then this is a little bit of a different facility. It's it's kind of zero lot line, so it's not on kind of a standalone block. Across 2 levels, again, really state of the art tech integration all the way through. Similar picture to what you saw in Brisbane. This is what one of the standard kitchens looks like. I might just touch on, everything that you see here is what's included that we've covered. So top of the line exhaust, we typically have a few options. There'll be some high flow, some medium flow, some different sizes potentially, some kitchens with no exhaust, only a handful. If you're like a salad restaurant or you want to do smoothies or salad bowls or something, you might not need to cook with flame, and you might not need an exhaust, so they're optional as well. But then all of the sinks and benches that are required as per the health standards, 3-phase power, yeah, everything ready to rock and roll. And then here's a few of the different areas in the facility. So a really nice breakout room on the top left. This is for all of the kitchen staff to come and use freely. The fridge there, there's another, there's a microwave here now, there's a big coffee machine. And then again, down on the bottom left, that's where the couriers arrive. They've got a TV, they've got a locker system, check in, check out, that type of thing. And then in this one in Melbourne, because it is much closer to the city, much higher density, we've got a really nice bike racking system, which restaurant staff use. If couriers are coming in on their bicycles, they'll just leave them there while they come in and check in and collect their order. And then a couple of our upcoming facilities. So the top right is going to be our first facility in Sydney. And it's actually in just the inner north of Sydney. So it captures all of North Sydney. It's the most optimal location north of the harbour. And we're really excited by this. I think it's an area where it's typically or traditionally quite underserved in terms of food and delivery food options to the residents around here. So that's something that's going to be really, really exciting when that launches, because it'll be an introduction of a bunch of new restaurants, and the volume is going to be really high out of that location. And then our next facility is number 2 in Melbourne, which is just in Abbotsford. And again, this is literally one of the top locations in all of Melbourne to operate a delivery restaurant. And so we'll be launching this one in around Q1, Q2 next year. Both of these should be launching around the same time. Final dates to be confirmed, but that's some of the locations that we're looking at. Going on from there, we're definitely going to have more operations in each of Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. I'd say Sydney and Melbourne will be very large markets for us, but then once we do get a good presence in each of those markets, we're now starting to explore Adelaide, Perth, infilling into a number of other markets around Australia. And I think that's it. I think how'd we go for time? It is 3:56 here in Melbourne. So are there any questions? Over to the floor. If you want to just jump off mute to ask anything, or feel free to drop it in the Zoom chat, and we'll do our best to answer.
Yeah, hi, this is it's Rahul.
Hi, Rahul.
Looks like you guys operate, a lot of the business that you do operate as mostly on-demand delivery sort of businesses, right? Do you also operate other sort of businesses, such as pre-prepared meal services that are out there? Is that part of, and how does that work with?
Yep, that's a really good question. So that's something that we're really interested to work with. We are really interested to work with more operators who do either pre-prepared meals or products. And so that's something that in our facility, all of the above is possible. We haven't, from my knowledge in Australia, worked with anyone who's like pre-packaging meals yet, but we do work with product suppliers. So, we're taking delivery now of product with shelf life, and we're storing that in our facility, and then we're managing all of the operational aspect of picking and packing and handing over to the courier. So that's absolutely possible, and pre-packaging is absolutely possible as well. We do see a lot of our really successful customers do a lot of catering. And so while it's not completely pre-packaged, it's pre-ordered. So they might have, an order for a party on a Saturday, a week or 2 weeks in advance. And then that's something that, we'll walk around the facility and see that they've got 100 bags of food, and then they'll actually do the delivery of that themselves. So we are quite flexible. But yeah, I think from our perspective, we'd love to do more prepackaged options.
Okay. The other question I wrote down a few questions. I don't know if I'm going to take up other people's time here, but the other question I had was around with the what are the fees sort of involved? So I know there's about a 20K initial outlay there. And what are the ongoing costs on top of that? Now, obviously, I've got my own equipment that I need to bring in, and I have to put in the 20K for that in the bare bones fit out that you showed me the picture of, I assume.
So no, so the bare bones fit out, there's zero cost. Okay. We've invested in the facility and all of that equipment. There's typically a deposit component, a fully refundable deposit component. Then there's a monthly rent. And I think we should probably schedule some time to look at the facilities and kitchens you're interested in, because it does vary quite a bit. But, if you take a small cold kitchen in Brisbane, that might be down around the like $2,500. But if you're taking like a premium, large, high flow, hot kitchen in Melbourne, that might be, up towards the $5,500, $6,000 a month. From that perspective, they're kind of the fixed, I guess, costs. It's very typical sort of rent setup, but then, you would have outgoings as well, utilities, those types of things. So I think let's maybe schedule some time if you're interested to dive into some of those details a bit more, further.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Yeah, to just understand a bit more. I think our business is slightly different to the on-demand delivery business, and what we do have a lot more chefs coming in and out of the kitchens. So it's not just a set team there that's going through. We have different types of people coming in to cook different types of things. So yeah, I'd be interested to know how that might work with Chef Collective.
Yeah, great. Well, I think we've definitely got your details, so we'll be in touch, and yeah, let's schedule some time to have a one-on-one.
Sure.
I've got a couple. Oops, sorry. I might just grab the question in the chat. I think we will be sharing the slides to answer that one quickly, and then I've got a question. Have you guys worked with delivering healthy drink as a pre-made in a bottle? So
yes, that's my question. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I don't think we've done like that exact type of product, but we're working with, we've worked with ice cream brands. We've worked with a lot. We have done kombucha, not in Australia, but in Singapore. So any type of kind of pre-packaged product is 100% possible. And it's actually a really interesting solution where, because we have storage in fridge, freezer, and dry store, we have a capability of just storing that for you, and you don't actually need to have anyone on site, and we can manage the full logistics of the delivery. So again, that's something that I think we should jump on a one-on-one and explore a bit further.
I would love to have a chat with you guys extensively. My drink is within the health category, is the most closest to kombucha, but it's completely different in terms of how we make it. So it's practically a live drink. And definitely, I don't want to spoil it by adding any shelf life into it. So it has no additives, no preservative, no coloring. So it's a health to the best definition. Therefore, we have to deal with it. Yeah, we have to deal with it like, as we deal with the milk or any dairy product with that matter. Yeah. So
that's all possible. I think there are some intricacies of that type of product, with labeling and understanding shelf life and all those types of things, which I'm sure you're fully across. But let's absolutely follow up and go into some of those details.
Brilliant. And since I interested to expand the business, kind of from Queensland all the way to anywhere else in the board, I suppose if we get along and we can have a chat and we can kind of start it in some point, then in future we can expand it as we go through.
Absolutely. I think that's the real benefit of us in this kind of global network of facilities where, if you do decide, look, I'd like to go and expand into Singapore, it's, we've got the infrastructure ready to go. You don't need to go and fly over and find a location and invest significant money.
That works really well for me. That works really, really well for me. Yeah.
Awesome.
All righty, let's set the plan and have a chat, and perhaps I can come and visit you guys one day. So we can.
You're in Brisbane?
Yes, we are in Brisbane. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we've got obviously the team there, so we'll reach out and we'll lock in some time.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. You guys have my details, and I would love to hear from you guys.
Great. We'll be in touch.
Thank you very much for your time, and I apologize. I have to run. I have another appointment. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thanks for joining.
Bye. Thank you.
Do we have refrigeration delivery facilities? All of our facilities have refrigeration available. Was that the same person who just jumped off, or is that another question?
Different. But do you mean as in like refrigeration through like after it leaves the facility? If that's the case, the answer is no, but obviously you are welcome to engage your own third-party transportation. If, say, for example, you are making subscription-based food and you want it to be delivered in a refrigerated way, then that would be something that we don't offer as a service. But obviously we have the load and dock facilities and the refrigeration to be able to keep it cold until it is collected. Yeah.
And there are a few ways if you did want to do, direct to consumer on demand through, say, Uber Eats, where, we could look at a packaging solution that if you have an ice cream and it needs to stay cold. Let's just get it into our freezers and then have the right packaging for us to put it in so that it stays cold while it's en route to the customer. We do that currently with a couple of ice cream brands actually. So that type of thing is possible, but if it's a bulk delivery, then Uber Eats, Menulog, DoorDash wouldn't be able to handle the, say 100 ice creams going in one delivery.
And I think in general, there's just been a few comments. We know we do have a few licensees that are doing catering, but I do have a couple that are wanting to, I guess, do the subscription-based meal things. And at the end of the day, the space is yours, and what you produce in it is totally up to you and your realm. But what the recommendation that I always make to my clients is, do your subscription business, but also take the opportunity to run a delivery business that's open at the same time as you're open, and utilize the space and the service that's available. And you can have that sort of consistent, 7-day-a-week income, but the delivery portion may only be, your cream on the top rather than your core business. So we can be completely flexible depending upon what the individual person wants to achieve in the facility. There are, if it's like a full-on manufacturing thing, it's something that we may have to work through just with a different type of food licensing. But as Sam already said, anything is possible, just may take another week or two. Is there any other questions at all?
Just one last question from me. So with the local council business registration or food license permits, do you do that, or does the business have to handle that themselves and then work with you guys?
It depends on which city you're in as to how involved Chef Collective is and how involved the business is. Whereabouts would you be looking at opening?
Melbourne.
Yeah, so Melbourne, essentially, it's always like a together sort of a process. So essentially we get your information that we need, and we apply for your health permit on your behalf. Actually, just because we supply a whole stack of information to the particular city council with our building schematics and things like that. And in Melbourne, there's also a separate process called ESV, or Energy Services Victoria. So it's just like a double-step process that you need to go through to have your health certification issued at the very end. So the cost is the individual licensee's responsibility to pay for the license, but I guess we apply for the license on your behalf and also organize a date for the physical inspection at the end, obviously consulting with you throughout the process as well.
Okay, thanks.
Do we have any more? If not, then look, really appreciate everyone jumping on. Thanks so much for your time. And I think I'm not sure whether we'll be able to share the recording, but we will probably be sharing the presentation. And then we're also always available to have follow-up conversations one-on-one and with the team in the various cities that you're based. So we'll be in touch.
Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty, thanks all.
Before you drop off, just the last question just popped into my head. So the lot of current food businesses they've grown rapidly over the last couple of years because of COVID, and everyone's just been dining at home. How do you sort of see the meal delivery business going forward in the post-pandemic world? What are you guys seeing out there? Is this going to stick, or is it going to start dropping off?
That's a really good question. I think we've got a couple of really awesome examples because of our scale around the world, where what we see is a lockdown happens and delivery skyrockets, and then a lockdown ends, and what we might have expected would be that it goes back to the original level, but it actually goes back to a much higher level and it stays there. So what I think is we're seeing a big shift in attitude across the people in the market who weren't previously using delivery food. So we strongly believe that it's going to continue to grow extremely fast. I think in a city like Melbourne, it's been like the pointy end of the problem, where there's so much demand that the delivery platforms have struggled to keep up with that demand. So coming back to some level of normality is actually going to be really, really good for delivery, for restaurants that particularly focus on delivery. So yeah, we think it's here to stay, and it's going to get extremely larger as a proportion of the market than it currently is.
Thanks for that.
Awesome. All right. Thanks all. Appreciate your time. We will, we'll distribute the presentation, and then hopefully looking forward to meeting you all face to face or one-on-ones on Zoom.
Thank you.
Thanks all.